pat on the back or whatever else we can do to help the event, because as he moved, it was very, very organized. Brady Butler said it probably was a lot more organized than it was last time. And we did also say that never thought we get as much done the first day as we did. But relatively smoothly. So I commend all the staff that was here, board members to help, anybody else who helped for our move. So now we're in the clean phase and reset back up. I want to commend the Alex Parakeetas and Grady for putting both of those gentlemen made it to the state tournament for track. Alex was in the 100 and Grady actually placed in the 300 hurdles. So congratulations to those two fellows. Huge compliment on their part. I do want to thank Truck Sales and Service. They did get us 4 box trucks. Those box trucks really helped, and that's quite a wide process, but quickly the first couple of days started moving. I think after the second day, we were taking a couple trucks back because it was we didn't have need, but they really helped us out. And thank Rod and his crew for helping us. Want to commend Staples of New Philadelphia and Doug Houston. Doug contacted me a while back about doing some community walks, and I just went up Monday and picked up some boxes. He said there'd be more coming, but these will be for students that are in the classrooms. And in this box, it includes, but it says contents may vary: 2 dry erase markers, 1 Sharpie permanent, 2 Sharpie highlighters, 2 Papermate ballpoint pens, 8 Papermate blue case pencils, 2 Papermate erasers, Elmer's glue stick, and Elmer's liquid glue. So this is all through Doug at Staples in New Philadelphia. So he's hoping to have more. And I think if you go through, if you'd like to, when you have a purchase and you want to add some of these to your cart, that's how he's getting this. He wants to outfit almost every building that he can with these. So I think I picked up 200 of these Monday or Friday last week. Sorry. So I want to thank Doug for helping us out. I want to also commend Jacob Baldwin and his career tech students. During graduation, we had some students helping with filming the graduation. Lucas Fife, Colin Hubley, Anthony Scalabrino, Noah Severs, Noah Workentine, and Tyson Best. And also, we had a couple of students that were filming for their 6th year in a row, and it was Berkeley Jen Hall and Daniel Eckhart. So we want to thank them. They did kind of look like, when you guys were up on the stage, it did kind of look like a film crew as they were moving around the gymnasium. So I recommend them. And also, we got Cole McCabe and Hayden McConnell from McDonald working on a Novellis video. Been working with Novellis for the last year or so, and one thing they want to do is they have our students come out in their area, film and make like safety videos for them. And this one is going to be more of a promotional video that they can take out and send out to the fairs to promote people coming to work for Novellis. But I'm glad that those two young men and also Mr. Baldwin, as a part of that, Novellis did buy Mr. Baldwin's class for his film class, about $3,500 worth of equipment to do this. So I'm really appreciative of them. And I have more in the presentation on Novellis here in a bit.
Good. I'm good. We'll get into the administrative board community reports. Folks, do we have?
Yes, we do. We've decided that we'd like to use this time to kind of highlight people or folks in our union. So on the last day of school, there was an accident on the playground, Trenton Avenue. Little girl fell and broke her arm or dislocated. It was messed up. The railroad was hanging. And we'd like to commend Jed Bolick at actually, on the teachers that had their soul on the way they handled it. They kept the situation calm. I don't believe the little girl even cried. They had her so relaxed and to stabilize the arm. And it was pretty nice to see that, how they kicked in the mom gear and took care of that little girl. And I think everything did pretty good for her. So we wanted to highlight Jen and commend her on that. And also Darren Costello and Jimmy Maxwell, the last couple of days, have really, all the pilots out there had books on at one point. They stepped away from their normal duties to come get those books dispersed. So we'd like to highlight that. On the other note, I'd like to just I know everyone here is kind of new, and I'd like to just bring up some issues we're having with our contract. In our contract, the steps or lines of command that we follow. And I think we have some people trying to overstep that line and are reaching out to school board members before it's actually time for a school board member to make a decision on a problem. So we just want to kind of address that with you guys and just let you know that, hey, I've been talking to somebody, it's all right, but when someone is calling you to fix a problem before it even gets to the supervisor, that's a problem. We'd like to maintain our line of command and just, we want to work with you guys, be proactive, make this district great, but we've got to maintain a line of command. So, and plus, we don't want you guys receiving calls at midnight on Sunday about something that hasn't even had a chance to go through the process. But I just wanted to highlight that with you guys, and wish you the best. And if you guys need anything from us, let us know. Me and Tammy's got an office here. I'm always around. I'm low, but anything you got any questions on, feel free to get a hold of us. And we're here to make this place a better place. And thank you guys for your time.
Appreciate it, thank you. Amy?
Oh, okay.
Do you want to share the screen so then she can?
Yeah.
Viewer to home.
Is it this one?
Yes.
This one?
Yep.
I know.
If I just tap the board, it'll.
Yeah, it'll go.
Okay. All right, so good evening. Tonight I wanted to make a proposal to change from a class rank system to the Latin honors system for graduation honors. I do. You can click. Okay, so a class rank system, first of all, sorts students from highest to lowest GPA. That's what we use right now. And it names the student with the highest GPA as valedictorian, and then the student with the second highest GPA is the salutatorian. The class rank of each student is printed on their transcript. That's what we currently do. And these are the reasons that we would like to make a change. There is a very small difference in GPA, literally sometimes 100th or 1,000th of a point between the kids who are in the top 10% of our class, especially between the top 3 or 4 kids. Class rank is negatively impacted when our students take courses that interest them, but may not be weighted. Colleges are seeking well-rounded students, and class rank is not a valid statistic that can be compared across graduating classes or even within the same class of graduates, because students don't take the same courses, they don't have the same teachers, so you can't really make a one-to-one comparison. And class rank is not a statistic that is required for college admission. And according to the National Association for College Admission Counseling, over 55% of high schools do not report class rank. This was in 2017, the most recent data I could find, but I'm sure that that has probably increased now. And it's not detrimental in any way to a student's college admission. They also found that 80.9% of colleges place considerable importance on all of the classes students take. They weren't just looking, did kids take college prep or AP classes? They wanted to see the importance of all of the classes. So the Latin honor system is a 3-tiered system, which is comprised of cum laude, which is high honor, magna cum laude. Cum laude is covered up, but it's with honor. And magna cum, that's okay. Magna cum laude is with high honor, and summa cum laude is with highest honor. And all students who meet the criteria at each level will earn the distinction and be honored at graduation. So it's not a set number, it could be a different number with each graduating class. And many local schools have converted to the Latin honor system. I don't know all of them, but the ones that I do know of, New Philadelphia, Tusky Valley, Indian Valley, I'm pretty sure Dover. So there are a number of local schools using this system. So here are some of the benefits and why we think it might be something good for our students. It recognizes and incentivizes high performance for a greater percentage of deserving students. It reduces what can become an unhealthy competition among students who are vying for valedictorian and salutatorian. The recognition of one student will not result in others not being recognized. It encourages the pursuit of a wide range of interests. So we want kids in our career tech programs, we want them taking art classes, exploring other things, even if they're not weighted classes. This would give them the leeway to do that without harming their GPA to the point where they can't earn honors. High achieving students are more likely to select challenging CCP and enriched courses. So sometimes we have kids avoid the more challenging courses because they're afraid they'll get a B instead of an A, for instance. And so this would kind of take that pressure off of them. And it aligns with colleges and universities. This is the system that colleges use, and admissions offices are familiar with this system. This is the proposed timeline. So it would start with the class of 2026. Those are our incoming freshmen. And we would transfer to Latin honors rather than selecting a valedictorian and salutatorian in that class and the classes coming after them. The current system of identifying a valedictorian and salutatorian would be maintained for the classes of 2023, 2024, and 2025. So the kids who are already sophomores, juniors, and seniors in our building would just stick with the system we already have. The incoming freshmen would transition to the new honor system. And so these are kind of the details. So this is the highest honor, which is summa cum laude, and it would require a 4.0 or above GPA. And students would need to earn one of these specific graduation seals. They would have to either earn an honors diploma, an industry credential, or an Ohio Means Jobs Readiness seal. The reason for these, the honors diploma, this is what our college track kids should be earning. Industry credential is what our career tech students could earn, but we're at a point right now where we don't actually have the capacity to offer a full 12-point credential right now. So they could do the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness seal instead. I think in 3 years, when those kids are ready to graduate, we'll have that in place, but that just kind of gives us a backup if we don't have the industry credential. That distinction is graduating with the highest honor, and at graduation, we propose that students wear a gold medal for that. The next level is Magna. That would be 3.75 to 3.999. Again, the same graduation seals required. That's graduating with honor. Those students would wear a silver medal. And then cum laude, which is a 3.5 and above. And there are no seal requirements beyond those that are already required for graduation. So you could have a situation where a student has a 4.0 but has not earned any of these, then they would graduate cum laude. So they could have you have to have both the GPA and the seal. So the different schools have other types of criteria attached to it. For instance, Tusky Valley students have to have a 27 on their ACT. There are some to get the highest honors. We would have very, very few. Like when I looked at the numbers, I thought, oh, don't know if that's something that we want to do right now. So I think that an honors diploma or industry credential or Ohio Means Jobs Readiness seal, that's to the next level. Students don't have to do that. That's something that they have to go above and beyond for. And so I think that it makes sense that they would need to earn those to get those high honors. And then just other details, we will not, starting with the freshman class, we would not publish their rank on their transcript. Currently, it's published on a student's transcript. Thinking that the senior class president would be given the opportunity to speak at graduation, and we have a tradition of a senior student writing a poem each year, and they could also present their poems. We could still have 2 students presenting, And then just for reference purposes, because I'm always questioning every time I have to stop before I say it, cum laude. So, that's it. Any questions?
I like it. I like it because I can see the pressure that my grandson's under maintaining it, you know, and as he's progressing in higher college courses, he's like, these are getting harder. And he's he's worried about his grade point average because he'll lose his ranking in class.
Right.
And to him, that's, you know,
It's yeah.
important. And
Right. And I mean, we've built a system where we've encouraged kids to look at their ranking, compare themselves to other kids in the class. And I think maybe it's time has passed and just having kids, you know, we want to individualize education so they can rise to the level as high as they want to go and get honored for that. It doesn't have to be one student battling against another.
Yeah.
So,
I take that little pressure off.
yeah.
And then you could go do, you know, I see him looking at what class is weighted and what class it isn't, you know, and matter of fact, I made the comment with you at graduation, take the sign language class, what a great, and he's like, how much is it weighted? I'm like, that's not,
Yeah.
it should be.
Right.
He's worried about, you know,
Right.
not necessarily paying for that, but I'm just saying.
No, but I mean, it is a consideration.
I never had that.
For the kids who are in probably the top, you know, 15% of the class, they're paying attention to the weight of classes. And they're not taking certain classes because they're not weighted. And I think that's really a shame because they're missing out on the arts and missing out on career tech classes, because just because you're going to college doesn't mean that you shouldn't take manufacturing operations or an ag class. So hopefully it'll kind of even that playing field a little bit and make kids feel more comfortable about taking a wide range of courses.
We're taking a class that's interesting to you.
Right.
Maybe, like you said, isn't weighted.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said we currently have awards for the top 10 students, right? And then there's the honors. Students are recognized for those who are graduating with honors.
Right.
But by switching to this system, we would highlight more students that meet this criteria.
I think it will be, but again, it will depend on the class. So, I mean, it depends on the GPAs that kids get, but I do think it will be more than, well, so now we have the kids who get the honors diploma have a medal that they wore at graduation. And I think this year it was one of our biggest groups. And I think there were maybe 16 or 17 kids, but those kids will probably be getting the 2 sets of highest honors. So they'll still be getting that
Your
level.
industrial kids will be getting more honors. They could be getting more honors.
You could be in a career tech program and get academic honors. Yes. So was that what your question was?
But you could see, I could see more tech students.
Yes, yes. And so that's the beauty of it, is that it's not just going to be for the kids who are in those college prep classes. I think there are, you know, a wide range of kids who will be able to meet those criteria. It still takes hard work to get a 4.0, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Buckeye kids would be ready, theirs would be more of an a technical program with their certificate. Does that qualify? No.
But they get a 12-point industry credential.
Yeah. So
Yes.
okay.
Yes, so, and that's one of the criteria. Any other questions?
I like it, appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, well, I'd like to put this on the next board agenda to approve, for the July 7th agenda, so that you can take a look at this presentation. If you have any questions, you can ask me, or you can directly reach out to Ms. Vaughn, so she can discuss it with us if you have any.
If we have a regular CA here tonight.
Yes. Just real quickly, I just wanted to give a shout out to all of our students who volunteered during the move. They were a tremendous help. I mean, all the students came from the middle school. I know all of our staff, you know, they had, as far as teachers, maybe had 1 or 2 meeting days, but those students were here every day, busting it out. They did a tremendous job. I don't have a list of their names, We're considering, maybe sending, thank you cards. So, Beth, I don't know, do you have a list
Yeah, we had
of
some,
all the names of the kids?
I know, Michelle Henry, Henry and Sue had a list of, the certain criteria.
That would
And
be
agreed
great.
to come, and, we had some high school kids as well.
Okay.
Not as many days, but we did have some high school kids.
I just wanted to give them a shout out because
Yes, they did. They were very
they
hard.
really did a nice job. And they were so
Kept them
polite
moving.
and helpful, and they they probably needed a week off just to bring their bodies, because they were moving all of the heavy stuff for sure. So I just wanted to thank them.
Thank you. Buckeye Career Center.
I never received that.
Okay.
So I put that on here, but I didn't receive the report.
Athletic Council.
The athletic council is, Mr. Miles and Mr. Cottrell. We met a month ago. Approximately, we took a look at the gym floor and you brought up a proposal, so I don't.
The proposal was our colors here, that are brown and white. We throw in the orange. So, I'm being told, I'm sitting here with brown on, that we can't get brown anymore to anywhere with our uniforms, looking at our gym floor. Back when we met, it had the color gray in there. Well, I asked, I was wearing a hat, because, that had the C on it, the Claymont Mustang C on it, and it was gray, and I get it, it was not one of our colors. Our colors are brown and white, so, I don't know where we want to go, with ascending the gray as one of our colors. I see shirts that our athletic events sell, and I mean, it's not gray, it's not black. I mean, I see Claymont stuff in black, I see it in gray, and I was hypocritical that day because I was sitting there with a gray hat on. And I mean, I could easily take that hat, throw it in the trash, burn it, because that is not Claymont color. So, I mean, the question came up, what do we want to do going forward with another color? I mean, I don't understand. I can't get it through my head. Why, I'm Cleveland Browns, we have Bowling Green, here. I'm sitting here all in brown. So I don't understand. What do you mean? I guess when I ask the question, we can't find brown. I don't know.
Well, during our discussion there, was brought up as far as our boys basketball uniforms. Nike was due the uniform for through, and they had two different companies, or not the companies, but two different factories making the shorts and the tank top. And they weren't using the same material, they weren't coming from the same factory. So, that was one of the conversations to say, well, it doesn't match. But it is, for whatever reason, it's a hard color to match. But I know we had discussion, I'm not sure when it was, one of the board meetings about when orange was added. And it was added back in you may remember now because you guys were on the board, but it was, the story was told about Ed Henry and the orange pants. And they added some orange at that point in time. And I don't know what years those were. But it's kind of an accent, kind of used an accent color at that point. And that's what Mr. Cottrell was bringing up. We wanted to say we can use gray as part of our colors in addition to, or kind of carry on what we're doing when people are selling gray t-shirts and they have our logos on them and things.
It would definitely be an accent. We're not bringing this across to where we want to push brown out. It's just that the dye in this company over here, or in this state, doesn't match this one. And it's like, what do? We look like a bunch of misfits with two-tone brown and the gray. Everybody wears it. A lot of schools support it. I'm okay with it. I like it. We're always going to bleed brown, orange, and white. It just gives you that other option to show our emblem and support.
Do you think they should use the gray t-shirts because it's an easier font and easier to fix? I see a lot of schools that have just
Like,
sort of gray and white, they do them so, but it's still our emblem on the shirt. Yeah, I see a little girl right here with the Claymont shirt on.
The gray.
Great. It's easy to throw. And you can get, when you're selling t-shirts, you can get gray t-shirts cheaper than you can the brown t-shirts. I know that when I bought shirts for my staff, it's like, there's just certain colors that you just can't get, and then if you do, you have to pay the price goes up. So if you're an organization, if you're the cheerleaders or the football team, if somebody's selling something, slamming on a gray because it's cheaper and you'll have bigger profit. That's what I'm thinking. Here I am thinking, like, but.
But you're probably still gonna have the same issue with the grades not matching. Somebody's gonna put one on white gray.
Are you talking about uniforms there?
Just a, I mean, look, I'm looking at a t-shirt.
Just general, I mean, across the board. Right, I mean, for sales and for sporting events, I mean, we're talking gray uniforms if possible.
You could.
Yeah, a lot of
You
them.
white sometimes over here.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah.
I would agree.
I would say that.
Mom, I thought this was white.
I thought it was.
I mean, it's just it's something.
We're talking about education.
You know, we're gonna get pushed back, but
That's what I'm thinking. These t-shirts.
I mean, do you adopt the color? Do you, I mean, I can't wrap around, you can't get the same color.
See, your browns don't match. So UPS.
Well, I'm still-
Oh, football's not that big of a difference because their ball tops are usually different colors. Track cross country, same thing, track, same thing, different colors. I think when you're using the solid uniforms with, particularly basketball, that would be really the only sport where you have shorts and tops, same color, because even with volleyball wears brown or white with blackish or whatever the color shorts.
I don't think we can get down.
I mean, I'm a fan of the Ohio State University, and I'm curious when I see Oregon's play, on Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and what uniform they're coming out with. I don't know what's right, what's wrong.
Well, you don't necessarily have to add gray to using gray, right? I mean, you still have a gray uniform, I would hide to, you don't have to add color.
I wouldn't add gray. I would add orange if you need to make it official. I definitely.
That's.
You already asked.
That's been done. So.
Okay. I as a coach, would not want to wear a gray uniform without having a board approval on it. So I think we're hesitant on it. Maybe they can do it with a gray accent to order a full blown gray uniform. Yeah, but if the way things are, and I haven't been out shopping recently until the other day, the shelves are bare, so I don't know if it's going to be a concession for St. John. So I mean, if it comes down to we can't get a new uniform and we need it, it has to be gray.
I know it's a nice day for Warriors. They upset, I'm not upset, they not black.
Who's that?
That's the Buckeyes.
Special.
To be honest.
I wonder if they ordered the first time they did it.
I bet
I'm
they
sure
should
they
do it.
did, but it's like.
I know what they did with the Boulder stripe in their
It is
complicated.
really bad. Something else to think about, I guess.
Yeah.
I go next. I go for live presentation.
Yeah, okay. Is that this one? No, that was one.
Just have that one.
Okay, this one here. Okay,
Just wanted to give a quick update on how we've used our ESSA funds so far. Talking about our development partnership, I highlighted a little bit at the beginning. And then also the dyslexia law update. That came out, and as we continue to navigate through that whole process. So far, what we've had for expenditure, this is as of the end of May, what we're really looking at. So middle June. Our capital outlay so far, HVAC, $41,356. Personnel with our wages, tutoring, substitutes, etc. We have more. That's not including summer school. So 80,000. Curriculum, we with 20% learning for part of ESSA requirements with $153,265. That might be pulled out another one for this. 800,000.
Well, that's not only what I paid.
That's what
Those
it
days,
takes.
that's what it is.
All right. Go ahead. Then we had aids for the ESC that we use for education support. We have classroom supplies, and we also have aid diversified. And with diversified, we're looking at re-engineering our entryways to make them more open, and also to have more safety as part of it. And what we're still looking at as far as our costs, capital outlay, was $2,869,602. Personnel, another $676,000, Curriculum, $663,000. Supplies, $177,000, and also our balance goes to $436,448. That's what we have less there. But we do have in the next slide some things we're looking at as far as continuing with our HVAC of $2.8 million. The personnel, we're looking at $663,000. Curriculum, $663,000. And then also, we have another potential estimated expenditure. We've had problems over at Trenton Avenue prior to with water getting into classrooms. And this last storm that hit a couple weeks ago, we had water in the classrooms, and we're just not quite sure if it came from the third floor or second floor, but we know it was at least the third floor that had water in our classrooms. Bev has had some contractors in, and we are looking at need to replace at least 2 sets of windows, or the framing for sure. But our brickwork needs a lot of work at the intermediate and Trenton Avenue. So we're trying to get some estimates on that to fix those things, because it's with water leaking, and you get your mold issues and bad air quality. So those 2 buildings, it's been the front of this building across the street, and it has been a side with the 1960s edition at Trenton Avenue. For some particular reason, and I think it's the brickwork. Whether it's either I have to pull bricks out, re-order, reapply, that's what they're basically thinking. There's some lentils that need to be fixed, some window sills that need to be fixed. We were looking the other day with Beth and the contractor, and the soldiers, you say, we looked at it and said, why is it leaning? Was it made that way? And the guy said, probably not. That building is leaning in toward the roof area at the top. So we're going to be taking a look at that, making sure it's
intermediate. So
intermediate.
if you look above the third floor windows over here, you'll see the vertical brick. That's what they're calling the soldiers, the vertical brick. Above that, you see it kind of go, it kind of leans back towards the roof. So they don't feel it's a structural problem at this point, but it just is over time. It will be water and weather, and yes. So what we'll be looking at is possibly moving some of the roof money to, because it's the same, it's the same concept, whether you're replacing the roof to keep the water out, or you're replacing brick to keep the water out. The whole goal that that I was using in that is keeping the water out of the building, waterproofing the building. So, still getting some estimates and some things, we're gonna get multiple estimates and all that with those. So, it's, you know, it's not an exact science of things, what we talked about. I thought the gentleman, that we worked with, last Friday, was very common sense, saying, you know, maybe what we do is start at the top and work through all the problems we see there, because once it gets down to behind brick, is the second floor getting the water coming from the third floor, or are there additional problems? So, and some of it's hard to tell, because once it's behind that brick, then you can't see it. Yeah.
So that's what, it's intermediate, you're seeing the same thing trying to happen in also.
Yes, third and second floors, which has been that way for a while. We just really didn't have the money to fix it before. So we've got some.
These would be items we're looking at as far as extra expenditures. Beth has also brought in Tremco to do a roof estimate, or will be bringing him in for a roof estimate across the intermediate. She's a little discouraged, I was telling stories that, a little discouraged, there were like knife blades that were in the roof on the gym side. Like somebody was taking part of practice and trying to get them to stick it to the roof of the gym.
There were holes, and there were holes in the gym.
They're patched, but somebody was above the building on the hillside, throwing down at it, vandalizing.
Yeah, stay nice.
So we
We
had
collected the top of the roof.
Did we got, please, so they can maybe kind of watch and see if something.
we need to keep an eye out for them.
We have a camera on the camera.
There's no cameras on the roof.
So we also had some analysts here the other day, with the HVAC system, somebody went through and split it with a knife and it started to spill, so, we had to deal with that today. We noticed it was leaking. We had 3 big containers for that coolant outside, and there was no camera on that side of the building. But somebody chose to do that for us.
Where's that?
Right outside of the building. We had a big, like, water tank, coolers on pallets, putting them all underneath the garage. And there were 3 that were sitting outside. So somebody went through and split those. So that's another expenditure that you need to take a look at too.
The surveillance,
Not
or,
on that side of the building.
I mean, expenditure towards for purchasing surveillance, is that?
To replace a light bulb for right now, so we're ready.
Yeah,
Probably
We don't have security cameras on this building,
on the exterior.
on the exterior.
Yeah. We'll have
That's
to
something we should, I mean,
Yeah, it's not something we pay with extra money, but we could.
Something we can use to save
Right,
dollars.
yeah.
I mean, I would-
But I think that Jody had said, like, maybe I contact the post office, it's more in the cleanup mode today. But maybe contact the post office and see if they have anything, or maybe, you know, neighbors. I said, it had to be,
They could have something.
it had to be last night, it couldn't have been any sooner than that, just look at the amount that leaked out, so.
well, I was, in helping, you know, with the move or whatever, there was some issues or concerns brought up with the expenditure, which, one was, you know, with the shooting, the school shootings going on now. How can we make our schools, you know, safer? I basically, you know, gave my opinion, you know, we're not basically a campus ordeal, you know, we have schools, everywhere. So, premeditating, if you was going to do something over at the intermediate, you know, you would wait if we had a resource officer over at Trenton High School before you would do something here. How do we, you know, make them, metal detectors were brought up. I personally don't feel, here in our district that, I mean, who are we going to monitor, the metal detector? Who are we going to have sitting there? I mean, just keeping the building, I guess, locked up and your doors locked. I want our staff and students, safe, where they're here to get an education and learn. I don't want to be, a school district that just, bats the eye and not do anything. But I don't know, know, that's a question that was brought up to me.
I think that's why we're looking at these entryways, and coming up with architecting things. I mean, you know, so it's really that, you know, the parents maybe are gonna be a little bit inconvenienced in that they're gonna come to a staging way, you know, they're not having free access, or anybody really having free access into the building. They're coming to this lobby per se, and then, you know, the kid would be brought to the parent versus the parents coming and getting the kid.
We had that with the first slide. We did look at the high school trend in Eastport. Then we got into some thinking, how can we get into the intermediate and middle school and do something similar to an area where there is a staging area. So we're gonna have them back, take a look at it. I think one of our, we're talking about an extra entrance into the middle school. Instead of coming to the main entrance after hours, they have to come in another side step door for access if they're coming in and picking their child up. But I agree with you as far as making sure our kids are safe and our staff are safe. You know, it's, you know, no matter how many cameras we have or anything like that, where sometimes we can stop students, but we need to do the best we can.
Governor July did pass a bill of alarming staff, but we're good to, right now, currently, we don't have alarming staff.
Currently, we need to wait. It'll be 90 days before that actually goes into law. So we're waiting, the safety committee waiting to reconvene on what they have to do as far as who and how we take the next step to reenact that. The previous board suspended our policy because of the Supreme Court, so we would just have to pass the resolution to reenact it. But there are individuals who are willing to do that for our students and our staff. But that is one step. Like you said, hiring a resource officer at $40,000 a year, and, you know, 5 buildings, they can't be everywhere.
Right.
And so, and I know districts have been around our area for a short period of time. All the metal detectors, and they said they couldn't keep up because of they didn't have staff.
Right.
So.
Right.
They haven't came up with the complete guidelines yet, have they?
And I don't know if that's the best thing, alarming staff here, I don't know if that's the best thing, I mean, who, you know, of course, you know, who's armed, and when someone finds out they're alarmed, you know, then there's a struggle, and something happens, I don't know if that's the best thing, but.
I feel like teachers have other obligations and other duties. I just don't think arming them is something that should be added to them. If there's one resource officer, it's better than none.
As far as, you know, there are individuals, both classified and certified, who have passed, we're carrying before they were not allowed. And it's, you know, I'm not going to get into that debate about plausibility as far as those types of things, but if you move on to the next slide, please.
Yes.
The Velis partnership. Been working with the Velis for a little over a year now, and they have donated some money, some personnel, and some time for our district. They are recently donated about $100,000 so that we can purchase some aluminum bleachers, and from an aluminum distributor to buy aluminum bleachers for our stadium. So I was in the process of today making sure that we accomplished that. They've also given us some additional other dollars throughout the years, as I said earlier, $3,500 for the technology department. They've also outfitted our sporting teams. They've supported the IBC, and last year they provided some coloring books for our elementary students. So go ahead. So I was out there 2 or 3 weeks ago, and what we did last year, we took a tour of their facilities for 5th graders. They're going to come back, have a assembly prior to taking the 5th graders out there. We also want to meet with our project BOE, our career path teachers, our principals, to go out and tour and how can we incorporate our pathways into providing them jobs, going to develop someday for work. So we, like our video kids that are out there now, they may have a position someday that they can turn into that one of our kids takes that job. They were offering career exploration. They were going to come and do some handbook or assemblies and pass out their coloring book on recycling. We've been talking with them about converting our vending machines to aluminum cans and then starting a recycling program with them. We've also been talking about the possibility of Mrs. Long Park, athletic department, Mr. Jones, to look at fountain drinks as far as with the at the concession stands. Developers would buy our drink cups and they put the bells on one side and our logo on another. And we said, I think they can come with a lid and a straw. This would become a novelty item for the first time that they buy it, but this is recyclable. This is easier to recycle than plastic bottles. And they're really pushing us to take a look at doing this with us. I'm okay with it as far as the hookups for getting the drinks and the concession stands and all those types of things. But even if we just moved our bottles to cans, that does help our agreement with them and working with them. So we go ahead to the next one. And what we want to do is continue working with the Bellas to make sure our kids have some opportunities to go out there and visit, especially whenever we can get our pathways. Maybe they're ideally we want some of our pathways to be like a career center, where maybe last semester they're to work. And it's going to be on their part making sure that happens to be able to do so. But they really would like to see this through. Novellus, on the other hand, is looking to expand their facilities, and they want to have expand in the next 3 to 5 years and be able to offer 800 new jobs to our community. They have pulled some people from California and Texas for some of their engineering and different HR departments. But if they add 800 new jobs, and we have some parents that come in, and some will choose to commute to work, some will choose to come to here to work and live. So if that does happen, that influx does come about, we should be looking at a capital plan. Of course, how are we going to handle the number of students potentially that could come from that? But that is their campaign, and they're looking at spending more in their capital resources than they have ever with their development. And they're one of the smallest plants, but they're one of the highest producing plants in our area, in the development. So that's just something that we have to be keeping in the back of our minds as we're moving forward. And the next slide is the dyslexia law. One thing we had our committee, we met several weeks ago, and some of the things that go with it, we have to administer tier 1 dyslexia screening. Gordon Gillingham is that screening where you are looking at after January, because that's when kindergarten is screened. And then administer K3 dyslexia for grade 6, whose parent, guardian, or custodial parent request, and the teacher to request it, but the parent has to bring permission. Currently, right now, there is pushback from the legislators because the guidebook that we were given for this, it came out in April, and it's taken them forever in the day to really, the Department of Education to be able to get this book for us to be able to know what to do with this. But with all the laws and legislations that we do have, there sometimes comes things with unfunded mandates. And an unfunded mandate in this is that, they're saying we need to be looking at having a trained certified practitioner. What does that certified practitioner look like for our district? I'm not at the point now to say what's going to look like. but that is something that we're gonna have to be moving forward in the future with. If that person, that would be a job description and things that would fall in, but they would be working specifically with those students who are diagnosed as far as dyslexic. And also, providing training for teachers and things. So that is something that as a committee, will be looking for here in the future. But there isn't a guideline to what it has to look like now. But that is something that we're going to need to be doing here in the future. And at what point do we do that? I can't tell you then, because we're not really looking at testing any child until January. So, is that a position that we are looking for at the end of the year? Is that a position we're looking into next year? We'll continue to keep you updated on that.
So they haven't set the guidelines of when we have to do it, is that what you're saying?
The guidelines are everything that's in this book has to be done now for this next school year. But because it's such a late rollout, now the legislators saying, wait, we passed this law, but now, this has been a year ago that we gave you this, that we passed it. Now you're just getting out the guidelines for the districts. Yes, and now we're sitting almost July and there's still talk about whether the stuff in the law and the guidelines are still applicable for state. So it's just something we're gonna have to work through, and will be, as I said, I'm not at the point today in saying this is what that position would look like, but I'm just saying that we will have to be doing something for that position in the future. And I think that's
There's not
mine there. Yeah.
And I apologize, I didn't get mine to you guys before he sent the agenda out, so I gave you a copy here, so. The new software that I have received for the financial reporting, I found out last week didn't have the reporting tool that the gentleman that was helping me was putting those reports together himself. So I had to work through and creating my own report. So that's why it kind of took me a little bit longer, but giving you kind of the same information as what you're used to seeing though. So, but I put it in PowerPoint so we can all see it here. So the general fund revenues, total revenues are running slightly higher than budgeted. We're at this point, 11 months out of 12, it would be 92%. So we're running slightly higher at 94.37%. Overall revenues are down though from last year by 4.4%. That has to do with the state funding, how they changed the open enrollment, all the money we received last year from the BWC refunds that they had given back for the premiums that had been paid over the last couple of years. So the graph there again just shows, that we're dominant on state funding with real estate and public utilities coming in, rounding out the bulk of our revenues. General fund expenditures, they're also running slightly lower than budgeted. We're at 90.26% out of the 92%. Overall expenditures, are down 5.51% from last year. That has a lot to do with the purchase services, which was a lot of the open enrollment. So when they changed that open enrollment, revenues went down, but so did purchase services. So that's where we're seeing our biggest drop. So through the end of May, even though we're almost at the end of June, but I'm still reporting on May, total revenues year to date, 20,327,641, with total expenses at 18,431,144, with 2 days cash of about 140 days. So then I went on, I thought, well, I haven't really given you to show you how many federal programs that between Jody, myself, Beth, we kind of collaborate and oversee. So this kind of gives you a listing of all the federal money that we are mandated to keep track of, and we'll get audited on it. So
what our allocations was for this year and how much expenditures we've had through the month of May. So 3 different ESSERs. We have the ARP homeless, IDEA, ARP IDEA, the non-competitive, which is middle school only. That was comparable to like the school quality improvement grant. We have Title I neglected. And then we had the school quality improvement grants for the high school and the elementary. We have expanding opportunities where that's where we are using money from that to pay or offset the expenses when we brought in Start State and Akron into our high school. We have Title IV, we have IDEA early childhood, which is for our preschool. And then we have an ARP IDEA also, that's the American Rescue Plan, Title II, Title V. So as you see grant totals for federal programs allocated, in some of those ESSERs, you know, can span out a couple of years, but $8.8 million. From this fiscal year, we've spent $3.4 million through federal funding. We get one state-funded program, which is early childhood education. That pays for salaries of 2 teachers for our preschool. So we have a $160,000 allocation. That's consistent each year, isn't it? And then so far we've spent 134. So teacher salaries continue to get paid until the first pay of August. So then that will just take that money. And then Mr. Cottrell had asked to kind of see ESSER stuff on a monthly activity. So that's kind of where I was getting this. So in May for ESSER 2, we had those expenditures for supplies and capital outlays for boiler replacement. And then we had some door replacements at the intermediate and middle school. So that was our bulk of our money for May activities for ESSER 2. And then the next slide is ESSER 3. So we had the salaries, the fringe benefits, purchase services for the aides from the ESB, Chromebook licenses for the students, and then we start the boiler replacement at the elementary school Trenton's building. So we started that project then too. And then the last slide I did, which is, this is on you guys' monthly report, you'll see in the packet, but I just gave it's on fund balances at the end of May and what funds all the money is allocated to. So we have a fund balance of $8.8 million as of the end of May. Any questions on any of that?
I appreciate all the reports and each and every one of being detailed. It helps us a lot, taking the time to invest that time in and inform us. So I appreciate it.
How is it, Paul? I just saw the report today, our gym floor, that was true. I mean, it just, I'm just skimming through this.
Yeah, the gym floor is finished.
It is finished?
Yes.
You got pictures or?
I don't have pictures with me. No, I don't have any pictures.
I know you're not a social media guy, but
It looks very nice. We, I think, still, fans love, here,
pictures on social media through the whole process.
yes.
But it looks good.
I believe, our goal was to have that done by the end of June, so that should be ready to be used and everything then. It looks very nice, very clean. That the walls, we need to go back and rewash all the bleachers and all that, because when they were in their sanding, of course, that made a lot of dust. So once we had the okay to walk on the floor and everything, they'll pull the bleachers out and start cleaning again back in that area. So, but yeah, I think it looks very transformed, very more modern, a little cleaner. I mean, I haven't been in because the sign said don't enter. So
It was a long time coming to update the facility as far as paint job and floor. She said you guys are doing a fabulous job, so relay that on to you guys.
Two more, when I was in the building, our bottom floor at the intermediate. Now, you and I had a conversation, whatever, where there's the bottom floor, where there's a mold, and then there's bags of charcoal in there. Can you, talk briefly on that, what we're doing to take care of that?
It's not mold. It's some older, like those rooms were really not used for numerous years. Used as kind of storage, they were not cleaned on a consistent basis like you would a classroom. So, dehumidifiers put in there, tear them out, took all the cabinet drawers out, wash everything with bleach, and then basically let them out all to dry. And, we're not seeing anything regrow there, as far as any kind of mildew. It was more than mildew, I think, and, that's in either of the rooms. We had water damage from when the roof, thought that was leaking, that roof's been replaced. So we're replacing all the ceiling tile that were bowed or had water. So, I mean, I think it's always going to not, I don't want to say the basement, it's a partial basement, it's partially elevated, it's got a lot of windows in it. But I mean, it still has a dampness, I don't want to say dampness, it's just, it's not gonna be like a top floor, building of the room. But top floors are all hot too, so I think there's advantages of being down there. But we've not seen anything going, anything going back, I guess, is really.
Do we have the option of not using that room and moving up to another room?
No. There actually, we have some teachers that would like to have this classroom, so have.
Can we switch around if that's the case, if there's teachers that want them?
Yeah, Shakespeare can. Because they're big classrooms and so they are being moved around right now, so.
And then the other one was, of course, we spoke, you guys had a meeting in was the incident after the mowing at the high school.
Yeah.
What kind of, I don't know, I mean.
The company, the Public Employees Risk Reduction Program, folk, is part of, Bureau of Workers' Comp, BOE, and they, it's all like their safety division, so we had two gentlemen come visit, did a walkthrough, measured, looked at all the grounds in high school. In particular, they kept saying they really don't try to expand their scope of seeing things other than what they were looking for. So they were measuring hills, looking at where we mowed. Between Kim and myself, we had to provide them a lot of information. We had about a week to get that done. So they went in, 6 or 7 years worth of past, since 2017, all the claims, all the paperwork, all that, all the manuals for everything that we own out there, all that's been done. Any training that we've done, assessments we've done. So we've given them everything they have asked for that we had. They said typically it will take they have 6 months to complete their assessment. So they have talked to some people. TC was out there that day and they talked with him informally. They kind of mentioned they may want a more formal meeting with some of the people that mow. So we gave them everything they need. We're just kind of waiting for what's the next step.
Is it worth, what is it still high? Is it mowed? Is it weed eating?
Oh, they've been weed eating it.
Been weed eating.
Yeah, the gentleman that was working there is on medical leave. Not related to work or anything that is on medical leave. So we have Justin Fellers that was moved out to that job, and he's done that before out there. He always does a good job. So he's kind of playing a little bit of catch up on some things. But I have instructed anybody that fills in out there that's worked there and asked them to weed eat the bank until they come back and tell us that our signer is allowed to mow the bank. Once they came out and did the measurements, they calculated the slope at like 21%, and the center, supposedly, they would like to see that, and that's why they want to open it, can mow up to a 28% slope. But I just really don't feel comfortable until I don't want to say, go ahead and do that, Justin, and then they come back and say, hey, we can tell you you can do that, that's not safe. So I think they've had some accidents in some other areas that were lawnmower related, so they just said they've been coming down very strictly on that, and that's just been an area that we're focusing on this year. So it's kind of where things are, and we're just waiting to hear what the next step is.
But it can be pushed.
Right,
And it can be pushing out a meeting, so we're pretty much, we had the meeting first, because it was, this high.
right.
And, so it'll be,
I mean, safety first, then, but, if it can't be, ridden,
I just,
and, I mean, you gotta weed eat it, I guess, or push it.
so we'll, that's probably, we're not the end of, you're not hearing the end, this will be more
Okay.
coming about, so.
And I just skimmed through your, like I just said, I just got your
Yep,
report.
a
I
lot
just
of
skimmed
other
through.
stuff, just things have been pretty much on schedule for the stuff that we're the projects.
Thank you.
We don't have any public participation tonight. Then,
I'll give you that, correct, please. They're correct. Superintendent item K, Reagan Wasack, who should be freshman coach. We're already hired guys, volleyball, so you can be a freshman. Then under R, under the music department, music, Q, yeah, I'm looking for, I need to be tested. Item Q, grade one, volleyball.
Right.
Yeah. Item R is our music scene design, it should just be Kurt Stewart. And that was in a, an attachment to your agenda. But you. Are, you're gonna see, on that place. That doesn't matter, so it's all.
All right, you got me all confused.
Let's go through one year.
Letter of all, approved, that I got the non-act, or word, and what are we going now?
It's R.
Starts with the band director up top, correct?
Start with the
Yes.
director up top.
Looks like this.
Yeah. I need to make some copies.
So under that is, musical set, scenic design should just be Kurt Stewart, not more on. And Kurt, it should just be Kurt Stewart.
Musical design.
Mr. Miles,
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison, Mr. Cottrell,
Yes.
and Mrs. Wall.
Yes. I have a question between me and Matt. The date doesn't correspond to the years for the contract. It says rescind the 3-year, but then approve a 2-year ending in 2025. It ended in 2025, that's for the 3 years. Correct. It's at 2025.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Having really phenomenal system technologies that they will August 1st, July 31, 2020. That's what that means.
Yeah. Motion second to.
Look at them.
Wait, on.
It should be.
Oh, yeah.
Roll call.
Mr. Miles, Mrs. Grandison, Mr. Cottrell,
Yes.
and Mrs. Wall. Yes.
The board will have a executive session. Consider appointment. We got compensation. The motion is second, then with executive session.
I'll make a motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Cottrell,
Yes.
Mrs. Wall. Yes. Mrs. Grandison, and Mr. Miles.
Yes.
Thank you.